Hello and welcome to another episode of the Investor Financing Podcast. And I'm your host, Beau Eckstein. And today we have another great guest. We're going to talk about raising capital, finding deals, and escaping the W-2 job, which most of us out there, that's what we're watching these type of shows for, is because we want to, learn from others and see what they're doing and finding a better way to live our lives. This is basically why we're doing these shows and learning from each other. So please welcome John Pearl. He is the founder and managing partner of Azimuth Capital Group. He is passively invested in 200 units in the Dallas, Texas area, and also a general partner or GP in 304 units in Alabama. John served in the California Army National Guard from 2011 to 2021 and currently works as a nuclear security specialist. So he's probably got some super high security clearance, is my guess. That's pretty cool though. And his goal is to replace his W-2 income by 2025. John is also the host of Freedom Investor Radio, which is a means to educate folks on the many benefits of investing in apartment buildings and to inspire others to pursue means of outside of the W-2 realm. So that's a great topic. Many of us out there that are going to be listening to this after it's edited are going to, they're really looking for a better way of living their life. And although, having a W-2 job is not the worst thing in the world, it's actually, some people enjoy it and that's what they want to do. There's many of us out there that are looking for different revenue streams and figuring out, what else is there to do? What are my options? And maybe you're really busy as a W-2 employee, but how do you get involved in real estate as a W-2 employee to find opportunities? And I think that's kind of our conversation that we're going to have today. So John, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Beau. Stoked to be on.
So why don't you walk us back to what really intrigued you into getting into real estate? Obviously, you served in the military. I think you were, have high level security clearance. I think early on, probably that was a passion of yours to get in, to be in the military. And then what transitioned where it's like, okay, there's got to be a way to create a little bit more lifestyle freedom?
Yeah, I think the moment for me that it really switched, well, there's a few of them. It was kind of more of a process, not an action, like a light bulb moment, if you will, not a big aha moment. There were many of those along the way, but I had my first child in 2017. Also right around that time is when we found out that Diablo Canyon power plant, the nuclear power plant that I work at, they were discussing not renewing their license in 2025, which has since been confirmed. So the power plant found out that was going to be closing down. Also, I don't remember how or why, but I had just discovered biggerpockets.com and started going down that rabbit hole like many of us real estate investors do. Many of us got our starts there. Found the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and, pretty standard story for a real estate investor. And just went further and further down the rabbit hole and started learning more and started meeting people, started attending conferences. Ultimately discovered the niche of apartment syndication and the ability to passively invest in apartment buildings. You get to experience the same benefits as if you were buying your own single family residence, except you're not doing any of the work to manage it. So that was very intriguing to me. So I started learning more, heading to some conferences, podcasts all the time. I was talking to a gentleman yesterday. I referred to it as the college on wheels, just listening to audiobooks, podcasts, just really educating myself and shifting my mindset and learning that it was possible. So fast forward, developed some relationships with some very strong deal operators, some general partners who are putting together apartment syndications, and ultimately invested in one of those deals as a passive partner, as a limited partner. And that was in Dallas, Texas, 2020. Right before COVID struck. So that was an interesting time to get my start in investing. But the deal is actually performing pretty well right now, given all the circumstances. And through that process, just continuously attending more events and networking. At this point, we're on Zoom and on calls every day, meeting people, building relationships. And at some point, I just kind of realized that I could be on the general partner side too. It's just, you just got to educate yourself and meet the right people. So it's just about getting out and exploring. That's what it was for me, and just constantly being curious and wanting to learn more about what is out there. That was kind of how I got my start and learned about all of this.
Did you bypass, like, was this really like, you didn't do any single family investing? You just said, listen, I know where I want to go, and multifamily syndication is the vehicle to get me there faster. Is that how it works?
Yeah, that was pretty much how it worked. I did, as soon as I got on Bigger Pockets, I was interested in single family, but it just seemed like the people who I related with the most were just eventually going from single family to multifamily and scaling up to the larger multifamily. And ultimately that leads you to syndication in order to scale faster. I was very interested in single family and, the Burr method. I was looking, as we were discussing earlier, I went to college in Tennessee. My wife's from Tennessee. We have family there still. So I was looking at single families in the Knoxville area, East Tennessee. And, had I bought some properties there at that time, it would have done great given the, past couple years. But I was just very intrigued by the potential for getting other people involved and kind of being able to spread the wealth a little bit more. It's just a fascinating business model.
My buddy Vinny Chopra just bought a nice property in Knoxville,
Nice.
multifamily. So yeah,
That's awesome.
And so I interviewed him on our show, because we do a show on a live show on Fridays, and just learned more about the Knoxville area. But they found a sweet deal with huge value adds. So it was pretty cool to see that. But Knoxville is just, yeah, it's absolutely booming, and because of COVID too, I think people are just, a lot of Californians like myself who moved to Nevada, they're just saying, okay, like, where can I go live that the lifestyle's as good or better, and there's cost of living's better. It's just making more sense to do that now. And so it's interesting that our conversations where we're seeing so many people relocating right now. It'll be interesting to see, as COVID's now kind of tapering, hopefully, that if this trend's going to continue. But it seems like because of COVID, it really kind of sparked emotion in people that they want to start their own businesses, right? And so that's pretty awesome to kind of see all the movement of all these people doing this. So what is when you're not working, do you work like a kind of a 3-12 shift?
Yeah, it's almost exactly what I work. So I work 3 days 1 week and 4 days another week, 12-hour shifts. So essentially I have, out of every 2 weeks, I have 7 days off. And as we were discussing, I have 3 young kids, and a lot of my time is dedicated to them. So they're the priority when I'm not working, but I wake up at crazy hours in order to get my work done. It's become very important to me, this mission I have to replace my W-2 income with passive income from real estate. It's a passion of mine, and it's also kind of like a ticking time bomb. I have a line in the sand that I have to accomplish this mission by. So I wake up at 3 o'clock on my work days. So on my weekends, on my days off, I sleep in until 4:30 or 5, and then I get a couple hours of work done. And then, when the kids wake up, it's, helping out with breakfast, getting them to school, and, just kind of getting working when I can, just a little one step at a time.
I wasn't in the military, but I get up extremely early too. And it's like, I find it so peaceful. It's the only time I can really concentrate, and I can't explain it, but it's like, I have a routine on Saturday morning. My wife is like sleeping. I get up at like 3:30, 3:45, and there's one Starbucks open. So I drive like a little extra distance to go to this drive-through Starbucks. I get my skinny vanilla latte. I come back home, and I kind of like, I'll start with like a podcast, and I'll dive into work. And it's just like the rituals. I think the military probably is good for real estate investors, just because you learn extreme discipline, right? Like, you're probably a very disciplined person. You take care of yourself, you work out. I think that's important for the mindset of real estate investors, right? Like, it's because it's not easy. especially like when you go from working a W-2 job where you're like, you kind of know what you need to do and you just do what you're supposed to do. But when you're an entrepreneur, all of a sudden it's like you have this time freedom. Well, you don't at this time because you have certain days, but you have to be extremely disciplined, right? So that, I think that correlates probably pretty well with you because you're already like, you get it, how to be productive, and it probably helps. So on your days off, I mean, a big part of what you're doing now as a, a syndicator or in the multifamily investing space is talking to people, right? It's, you want to find people that resonate with you, because they might be partners in future deals. They might be limited partners. How do you go about, like, what's your philosophy on, like, educating the world that might not understand the power of multifamily? How do you go about doing that? I know your podcast it sounds like your podcast is geared for W-2 people, like, hey, there's a better way, or at least look investing here. What's your kind of mindset and process around building those relationships?
Yeah, definitely. The podcast is I'd say half of it is meant to educate people on the benefits of passively investing in multifamily, and the other half is to inspire folks to pursue or explore other means of income outside of the W-2 world. I think, our society as a whole just generally teaches people to go work for somebody else. And, you can make really good income and live a great life, especially if we're comparing ourselves to the rest of the world. But there is definitely a better way. And there's another way where you can have more control. But as far as educating folks on multifamily, my philosophy is, the podcast. I have a couple of educational resources on my website that kind of teach you a little more about it. And the big takeaway from my first deal was that I'm not working too hard to try to convert people, because a lot of people, they're just kind of stuck in their own mindset. And, I'm happy to help you convert if that's something you want to do, like, investing with somebody else in real estate as opposed to just maxing out your 401k. But what I'm trying to do is attract the right person, because this is us working together. It's going to be a business relationship for potentially 5 years or longer, depending on the business plan. So, I've got to be the right fit for somebody else, but, a potential investor also has to be the right fit for us. And there's definitely the education piece. We try to provide as much education up front before scheduling a call with somebody. We don't want to just jump on a call with somebody who's, hey, what's my friend mentioned apartment syndication, tell me about it. We try to provide as much information as possible up front to let somebody know what they're getting into, and then we can jump on a call. You meet the requirements, the financial requirements, sophisticated or accredited investor, what have you. So just try to educate as much as possible up front, then we jump on a call and see if we're a good fit for each other, relationship wise, personality wise.
You're listening to the Investor Financing Podcast. We'll be right back after this break.
Hi, this is Beau Eckstein, host of the Investor Financing Podcast. I appreciate you checking out our channel. On this podcast, we talk about real estate, investing, financing, business lending, and acquiring and expanding your business. I'm sure you will find some videos here that will help you build your business empire. There's a lot to see. Take your time and make sure you comment, like, and subscribe. Thanks again. I think when people start learning about, like, okay, real estate, you have appreciation, you have depreciation, you introduce, like, oh, well, there's something called cost segregation, and you can accelerate the depreciation, and maybe, just educating people in that space, because it's amazing to me that so many people don't understand, like, these principles, and they're always pointing fingers, I feel like, at these wealthy people, like, this guy doesn't pay, or this company doesn't pay taxes. But these tax strategies are available to the masses. You just have to educate yourself on, like, how you would go about. Now, if you're not a real estate professional, sometimes you can't take advantage of some of the depreciation and things, but you can start working towards meeting these benchmark requirements that you need for your taxes. It's like, people, I literally pound my head against the wall because I have a close relative, let's say, and he crushes it. I mean, he's like a high paid W-2 person. And I always just kick myself because I'm like, he's a financial service guy. So he understands stocks and mutual funds. I'm like, you got to look at this other space over here. It's like this world that people that are 10xing their net worth on a faster basis are doing all these strategies. And if you look at any really good, successful real estate professional, they usually hardly ever pay taxes because of the advantages of cost segregation. So it's like, I'm glad your mission is to educate the masses, because the more people that learn this kind of stuff, it's just like a game changer. I mean, what if you could keep 30% more of your earned income by offsetting, through cost segregation, and people aren't really spending the time to educate themselves. So
yeah, it's huge. I was one of those people. I didn't understand this. I would be considered a high income W-2 earner, and just getting crushed with taxes, and this was an eye opener for me.
So on your podcast, you interview other investors. What's the framework of your podcast?
Yeah, so the framework is, I try to get people on, I'd say about 75% of the folks I want, they have been able to successfully leave their W-2 jobs from investing in real estate. That's what I really, that's what I'm the most excited about. Selfishly, that's what I'm the most interested in. And, I just want to spread that with the world. Cause who doesn't want to learn how to get more control over their life, increase their passive income, multiple streams of income, diversified, you're protected more. It's just a fascinating topic to me, but I'm also interested in, that's the majority of my guests to this point, but I'm also interested in others who have used alternate means of earning to take control of their life. For example, a good buddy of mine, he's a gym owner. He owns multiple gyms, and I'd like to get him on. There's a lot of mindset stuff that correlates over to kind of just taking the plunge and burning the bridges and going all in on some type of entrepreneurial endeavor. And I'm just, the mindset piece is a big part of it for me. And it's been a big part of where I've gotten to at this point.
Yeah, you're right. It's all comes down to mindset and just making the decision to take action. And yeah, no, I've always been in real estate since I was 20 years old. I'm 44 right now. And so all I've ever really known is like investing in real estate and stuff. But as I get older, actually, I get interested in other things. So I started exploring, franchise ownership and all this other stuff, because at the end of the day, most millionaires, from what everybody says, has at least 7 streams of passive income, right? So that could be 7 different multifamily projects. That could be, 20 different multifamily projects. It could be some short-term rentals. So that's really, I'm passionate about that as well. It's just like, okay, like, here's the foundation. They don't teach us this stuff in school. You're right. They teach us to be employees. And I always have this conversation with my wife, because was born in Mexico, where they're just like, go get a degree and you can become a school teacher, and then you're set for life, right? Like, you're going to earn this amount of pay the rest of your life, and then you get retirement. And it's like, and when she moved here from Mexico, it was like, I started, hey, this is why America's great, because we have the ability to start a business. Literally, I can have an idea and start a business tomorrow, right? Like, anybody out there listening, whatever you want to do, that's the reality of it. You just got to really work on the real estate between your ears first. So yeah, I'm extremely passionate, and it's great to like have somebody else that's passionate about it. So what got you into the military? Was that just out of high school and you went to college and you just said, hey, I want to go into the military? Was it a family thing, or how did that all happen?
It was definitely a family thing. Most of the men in my family were officers in the military. Most of them were, Navy. My dad, he's been a big part of my life, big influence. His deal for me was that I had to try Army ROTC for a year when I went to college. And if you would have known me when I was in high school, you never would have thought I would have been that guy. I had long, shaggy, bleached hair, like that kind of dude. And yeah, I ended up liking it. So my dad made me do it. And I think he thought it was going to be a one and done, just to fulfill the obligation, the deal with him. And I ended up really loving it. I just loved the camaraderie, the discipline. I loved being out in the woods. I loved shooting. It's all a lot of fun, and just the challenge of it. I developed a lot of discipline. The Army completely changed who I am as a person. and it's just been nothing but good things. It's taught me to be comfortable being uncomfortable. Lots of time spent in extreme discomfort, and it's given me lots of self-confidence. Just knowing that if I put my mind to something, I can get the job done. And that if I, the biggest thing I think it taught me was that to accomplish anything meaningful, anything worthwhile, it's going to take a long time to get there. And persistence, the ability to press on through diversity, through tough times, you just got to stay focused. The name of my company is Azimuth Capital Group for a reason. So an azimuth is the bearing on a compass. I spent a lot of time in the pitch black woods in the South with a compass in my hand and a map performing land navigation. And you got to stop and perform frequent compass checks in the middle of the night when you're in the woods. And I kind of relate that to starting a business. You got to stop and assess your progress and figure out, are you staying on the right azimuth, or have you veered off a little bit? If you veer off even 1 degree over the long term, that's going to get you way far away from your objective. And so that's kind of the philosophy with my business. And my frequent compass checks that I perform in business and life is every morning, my routine, I meditate for about 10 minutes and I do something that I call transparent self-talk. I'm not a big affirmations guy, but I just get real with myself for a few minutes. What have I done? What have I been doing good? What do I need to improve on? Another part of that is journaling and reviewing my journal. Those are my compass checks every day. And doing those little things have just completely changed my life. Like I used to be I'm a scatterbrain. Shiny objects, like they attract me. And so I need to do everything possible to stay focused. And those are some things that help.
That's great. I'm writing those notes down because that's how I'm a scatterbrain too.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I so many things in life and like business in general interests me. So I can like go down the rabbit hole on all these things like, oh, I'm going to buy this franchise. I'm going to do this. and it's like, okay, that's okay to do that. But you have to have, I think you should allow yourself certain time to do that. Cause if you're always because you have to go deep with something, right? Like in order to be ultra successful, you have to go deep with something. And it's okay to have, several businesses, but you have to I think personally, you have to go first, you have to go deep with something and then build off of that, cause you need that revenue coming in. Once the revenue comes in, it becomes easier because then you can hire that virtual assistant. You can hire that second virtual assistant. You can partner more effectively. You have more like breathing room. Too many of us out there are living paycheck to paycheck and you just you're always worried about paying your bills, right? You're like, hey, I make a great living, but I mean, how many people make like 6 figures a year and live paycheck to paycheck? That is disturbing. And especially in California, so many people like 100 grand back in the day seemed like a ton of money. 100 grand today, you're barely scraping by. I mean, unless you're really good at pinching your pennies, but I don't want to have to live like that. I want to be able to go out to my prime rib dinners when I want and spend $100, $150 for a dinner and not really care. And so in order to do that, you have to create more income, right? So
absolutely.
I love the compass. And I didn't know about the azimuth. I Googled it actually before we got on because I was like, what? And then I got it, but it's really the compass is key. And I think the military discipline, like when I heard you say my mission, okay, like most people that aren't military wouldn't say my mission really. Like that's like an objective, right? You said objective. That's military talk, but really that's what's going to make you more successful is that you're journaling, you have a mission and like 2025, right? That's 3 years from now. And so that's like every day it's probably on your mind, like, okay, like this is it. And you're a pretty young guy.
Yeah. I'm 35. So, if I do this, at one point, my goal was to just be full-time real estate investor by the time I was 40. But then I just, 2025 is when the plant's closing down. So why not do it then?
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Well, I really appreciate your time. And I know our listeners and viewers that are going to watch this in the future are going to enjoy the conversation. Where can people stay up to date, listen to your podcast, all that good stuff? Where's the best place to send them?
Yeah, so just go check out my website. I've also got a free download there. If you go to Azimuth Capital RE, as in real estate.com, /intro. That'll give you kind of an intro to what I'm doing as a business, and you can find everything else about me there. A little blog, got the podcast link there, and I'm also on LinkedIn, John Pearl. And if we could link the website to the show notes. One thing I did realize creating this company name after I did it is that it's kind of it's an infrequent word, and not too many people know how to spell it. So it's all learning process.
Yeah, but I like the story behind it, and that's
Yeah.
more important. Like, because like when you explained it to me, and like, yeah, like it's so true. Like, and if you put me out in the desert in the dark and I had a compass, I could tell you what, I would be lost. Like I would not have been very good in the military, because I almost, before I got into real estate, I either wanted to be a police officer, or I wanted to be like a detective for some reason, or I wanted to be in real estate. Those were like my two things I wanted to do. I didn't go to college. I was like, okay, well, I could probably do both without a college degree. And then when I was younger, I worked as loss prevention. That's where I loved to catch people shoplifting. It was like, I used to work for a while. I worked at the Southland Mall in Hayward, and man, there was a lot of crime there. And it was fun catching people shoplift. I have to admit, that was a great job. God, I loved it. And then I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do with myself. And then I almost went into, I think I was going to go in the Air Force, and I wanted to be in the military, please. But something just said, I don't think I was cut out for the military, because you have to be cut out for the military. I mean, it's not for the faint of heart. And I think I'm too soft, to be honest with you. So my parents, you have to be kind of a certain type to really thrive in the military, I think. But later in life, I do like to, whenever I get the chance to go shoot guns, we have in the desert here, we have. So I had donated money to this Wounded Warrior Foundation, I believe it was.
Nice. Yeah.
And because we donated, we got taken out to go shoot guns with like this. He does coaching, but he's like an ex Delta Force guy.
Oh, cool.
And I got to spend a day with like really hardcore military people that were like, they're like, they've seen it, they've done it, and it's just it's eye-opening for people that haven't been in that space, because we don't even know, right? We're in a bubble, and like if you like, we're like, for example, we're watching this Russian-Ukraine war right now. It's like just the things that go on that Americans will never know about. Like, it's just crazy. So
absolutely.
Yeah. So I'm glad we have people like you out there that are protecting our nuclear energy sources and all that stuff. So that must be a pretty interesting career that you have. I'm sure you've enjoyed it this far.
Yeah, it's a great job. I work with a lot of great people. I'm very thankful to have been doing it so far up to this point.
Cool. Well, John, it was a pleasure. And I'm going to link your website to the show notes. And then people can find you and listen to your podcast, because it sounds like your podcast is really cool. And I like the conversations you're having around, financial freedom and independence. And that's why we all do our shows. Really, we want to help and bring on cool guests that can educate the world and just say, hey, we're doing it. Let's do it together. So thanks so much.
100%. Thanks for having me on, Beau.
All right.